Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 11 of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Nature Bloodline. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this with all of your friends on your social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Failed is Genin Text and was given intense training over on Anime King, and enjoy that guys. And stay in tune for the rest of what is coming your way over on Anime King 2, and I hope you guys enjoy. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you're hearing my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking about to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last spot we left off, Kushina was going over the things that she brought back from Ozoth, as she was trying to find notes on the former leader, anything that might link him to Naruto and Naruto change of behavior. She knew that the event of Mito's death had a drastic change in Naruto, but it was different. His eyes, they were showing something that she just quite didn't recognize. As she wanted to get to the bottom of it, she noticed certain behavior of his. Certain times his face seemed like he was trying to smile, and like he just didn't remember how to do it. She needed to get down to the bottom of it, as she and Minato was been discussing this. But they weren't certain, and it was just a pitch, after all. What she was saying didn't really make much sense, but she was just seeing it. She saw the fake smiles. She saw him struggling to smile. And she had to find out what was going on, but the note that she found, it wasn't anything concrete. Despite the reassurance from Tsunade and Mikoto, she had to find out. Meanwhile, in the forest, Orochimaru was facing off against both boys. The battle was deadly. Orochimaru was shocked because, as he pushed himself, he realized he was Sannin, and he realized these kids were forcing him to actually put in effort, something that troubled him greatly, how strong they were at this age. As he fought, they fought back. Orochimaru gave Naruto a devastating punch that should have knocked him out cold, and Orochimaru saw Naruto lose consciousness. He lost it right in front of him, and then Naruto forced himself to regain back consciousness, shocking the crap out of Orochimaru. As the battle started back up, Orochimaru had to shed his skin twice, as he delivered some bone-crushing hits that shattered something in them. He drop-kicked Menma down to the ground with so much force, Menma was knocked out cold, as he slammed Naruto through a boulder. As Naruto struggled to get back up, Orochimaru then saw Naruto summon a clone, but it wasn't a clone in fact. As the clone had a kunai, the three-pronged kunai, as he was about to throw it, Orochimaru flee, knowing that it wouldn't be wise to face Minato right now. After all, he was the exact reason why people feared to attack the Hidden Leaf. Why, things weren't going so good for his talk with the Kazekage. The man refused to attack the leaf. After all, why bring an army if a man can slaughter it within minutes? And they didn't have any faith in Orochimaru, but he had to move on to the next step. Meanwhile, Naruto had used a seal to mimic action in his mind to make it look like he had summoned a clone. But he did not, because he was tired. Dead tired in fact. As when Orochimaru knocked him in the boulder, he created a seal. He mustered up the remaining chakras, he summoned a lion, as he had the lion take him and both Menma away. As some hours passed, Daemon find them. With his Sharingan, he was able to see the foliage, as Naruto wasn't able to replicate the wood style perfectly because his body was exhausted and his chakra was low. But Naruto decided to put Daemon in his place. After a couple of hours of rest, Naruto drop-kicked Daemon. He beat the crap out of him until his teammates started to beg Naruto to not kill Daemon, as Daemon's face was swollen and his eyes were shut, as Naruto told him to take him and leave. Both him and Menma made their way as they were attacked by the Sound team, as Menma had his first kill. and he froze up for a moment after seeing the light leave the kid's eye as Naruto slaughtered the others. As Kin tried to run, but Naruto didn't let her. His mind was already made up. You should not allow the enemies to run, they should all die. As Menma heard his scream, he told Menma that they would talk about it once they get back to the tower as they made their way. They ran into Kiba and his group, and also Sesame and their group, as Hinata was glancing over at Menma. Things had changed ever since what happened, but she was hoping that he was doing okay. As they made their way towards the tower, time passed as Minato arrived, as Naruto told him what happened. So yeah guys, basically that's what I thought. If you guys can switch across the place, check out for yourself. So to begin this new episode, I can't breathe, said Menma, as Kushina released him. Sorry about that, she said, with a smile on her face. She had wrapped her arms around both of her sons and hugged them so tightly. She was happy that everything went through perfectly, and they were safe. Although the exam wasn't over yet, she came here to witness them take part in the preliminaries. Aren't you supposed to be home resting? Naruto asked. She looked at him with a soft pout. You know, just because I'm pregnant, that doesn't make me a frail woman that has to sit down every now and then. Well, actually, it does, said Menma. What? She said. Well, just because you have to be safe, Menma said. Oh, phrase your words better next time, she said, with a playful smile. As Naruto started to chuckle, Kushina looked towards him. It made her smile seeing him laugh. Menma also gave a calculated eye towards Naruto after what Naruto had told him. What's so funny? Kushina asked as he stopped laughing. Well, let's just say I just love these moments, he said to her. While his words might sound normal, to him, he knew what he was saying then. It was fading, more and more, but he was going to tell her that smile in his mother's face, that happiness. He didn't want to ever see that disappear. So he was going to tell her what he was going through. He was selfish in that regard. He would make others around him, especially the people that he loved, be in blissful happiness, while he went through the pain alone. After all, he could handle it. Yeah, he could. Kushina pulled the two of them closer. She gave him a kiss on their forehead. I'll be watching, she said. Good luck, as she made her way off. As Naruto was about to walk off, and Menma grabbed his hand, stopping him. They had already talked to Minato. Minato had flashed off rather quickly. Right now, Naruto guessed that the Anvus were probably scouring the forest, but he was sure that Orochimaru was long gone. As Naruto looked back towards Menma, we need to talk. Now, said Naruto. Yes, now, said Menma as he shut the door. As he released Naruto's hand. What is it? So you think I'm just gonna breeze over that? You're basically telling me that you're slowly losing your emotion. Soon enough you're gonna become some kind of robot that doesn't care about anything or anyone. It isn't like that. Then what is it like? Menma was angry. He was angry that Naruto kept this from him for so long and did not tell anyone about it. I don't know, said Naruto. You know, sometimes you can be a goddamn hard ass, Menma said. Look, said Naruto, it isn't BAM! Naruto was thrown towards the bed as Menma punched him across the face. As Naruto reached up and touched his cheek, Menma was standing there. He was more angry than he thought. Listen, I know you like to keep things to yourself because you don't want others to feel your pain. Telling me that I should go on and live a happy life with Hinata because you want me to focus on something else while you're in the corner suffering. I understand your words. You're happy seeing us like this because you know soon enough whatever is happening to you is gonna get worse. And we're not gonna be able to stop it, don't you? As Naruto lowered his head, as Menma released a hard sigh. I don't want to lose you too, he said. You're my brother, and if there is a way to fix this somehow, we have to fix this. Having you as an emotionless robot, how would that help anyone? Do you think mom is gonna keep on being happy when she knows that she can't help you? What do you think that's gonna do to our family? I can't even call you selfish because you're doing this to protect everyone else, and you're not looking out for yourself. Damn it, Menma said as he slammed his fist into the wall. He took several deep breaths. He was really agitated. The thought of something like this happening to lose his brother was getting on his nerve, and Naruto not telling him anything about it. It pissed him off to no end. When this exam is over, we're talking to mom and dad. They need to know. What if I say no? Said Naruto, as he got to his feet. Then I won't let you out of this room, no matter what happens. You think you can stop me? Said Naruto, as he narrowed his eyes towards Menma. As Menma flexed his hand, Naruto started to laugh. As he sat back down. I see that you're determined, fine. We'll tell them, but after, not before. As Menma reached aside, are you really gonna fight me? Said Naruto. Of course. As Naruto simply laughed as he got back up to his feet. He walked over and placed a hand on Menma's shoulder. Thanks. For what? For being there, said Naruto. Come on, let's go kick their asses. Menma smiled at that as he left the room. Naruto felt a bit bitter. Perhaps they could find a way to solve this. Or perhaps they could not. But he knew whatever he told his family would be behind him to help him. It's just he didn't want to burden them. After all, he has done his best to smile, laugh when the times needed it. But to him, he forgot how to laugh. He was just forcing it and smiling. He doesn't remember how to do it. It was rather strange. Not to mention, whenever he smirked for no reason. He just couldn't control his facial features because they were getting strange and feeling so distant to him. He couldn't tell anymore. Rather strange, but that is what's happening. But he will have to find a way to get over this. After all, he couldn't let them be sad knowing that he didn't have any emotion and it was getting worse. Everyone was soon gathered as all of the Jonin senseis arrived. There was a lot of them. A lot of them had made it through. As there was Naruto and Menma. There was Sesame and team, Kurasuke, Yujito, Kabuto and his team was there. As the rest of the rookies were there as well. And Guy's team as well. Yes, there was a lot of them there. Shikamaru sighed as he looked around the crowd. As everyone looked around waiting, until the Hokage flashed in. Hiruzen was already there, as Minato flashed in. As he looked down towards them, he cleared his throat as he started to speak. As he spoke to each and every one of them, as speech, about the reason behind this test. But Naruto wasn't paying attention to that too much. He was looking towards the girl. The girl from the Hidden Stone that seemed to have a rather obsessed fascination with him, given that she was smiling. Yes, smiling looking towards him, but he could tell that she actually wanted to fight him really badly. From what his father told him, they wanted to test to see how strong him and Menma was. To see how to deal with them in the future. But by then, it would be too late. Naruto was not boasting, but he was sure that he could take absolutely everyone in here. Including the Sanjin Jinchuriki, including the Kumo Jinchuriki, if Jiraiya's speculations were right. He could take all of them. With Menma by his side, none of them could defeat them. He could take on Sesame, Sasuke, all of them combined. Not to mention, he could subdue the Jinchurikis with rather ease. So that wasn't a problem. So they can try to gauge your skill as much as they like. The time when they choose to act, it will be too late, and then there will be nothing that they could do to stop them. Now let me hand over towards the proctor of this part, as Hayate stepped forward. The man coughed. He sounded rather sickly as he coughed. Alright, he said. Everyone, there's gonna be a preliminary matches. What? Yes, there's too much of you here. Can't you see that? He says. He looked around. As he looked towards Anko, Anko simply shrugged. She didn't know how so much of them managed to made it. Guessing that they were stronger this year, as she focused on Naruto. His face was devoid of emotion as always. At least there wasn't that creepy smile like he did back there. The real exams are going to be having dignitaries and daimyos. They don't want to see any long drawn out exam. That is why we're going to have any preliminaries here to cut the numbers down. So each of you are going to fight. We're going to select the names randomly. As he pointed towards the board that came down, but before that, if any of you want to give up, you can. Kabuto raised an eyebrow, but he said nothing, keeping his thoughts to himself. There was another agenda that he needed to follow. He wasn't supposed to give up. Alright then. When your name is called, stay. And go up to the podium, the rest of you. When your name is called up to the match, please make your way down here. I am the proctor. I can intervene when I feel like and declare who's the winner if I see that the opponent is no longer able to continue. And once I give the signal to stop, you must stop, of fear of being disqualified if going too far. Understand? As he saw that all of them got the message. Alright then. As the board went through names, the first name to pop up was Menma versus Ryu. Menma turned his head as he looked towards the Kumo team, where that boy with a dark grayish hair stood. As his teammate said something to him, the boy simply nodded as Menma turned towards Naruto. Do I have to say it, said Naruto. I mean, you have this. It's pretty nice hearing it. Do your best, Menma, Kushina said from up above, as Menma blushed a bit in embarrassment. Well, he wasn't expecting that. As he looked up and saw his mother, who was waving at him, he simply smiled back at her, as Minato chuckled a bit, as Kushina looked towards him and smiled, before looking back down, as the rest of them went up to the podium. As they arrived up there, Kakashi said Naruto, as he looked towards Kakashi who was standing there. What are you doing here, Naruto asked. What? Can't come see little Genin's fight, Kakashi asked. Well no, said Naruto. I heard that you retired from Anbu. Well yeah, said Kakashi. It's a shame. If I had retired earlier, perhaps I would have gotten you as my Genin. Well, it's too late now, said Naruto. After all, when this is all over, I'm gonna become Chunin. That's the confidence, said Kakashi. Well, I'm not doubting you, after all. I've already seen what you can do. As the others made their way up, Menma has this, said Sasuke as he looked down. Yeah, I'm sure he does, said Sesame. After all, it's Menma. There was a few strong like Menma in the exam. Well, Naruto was stronger, but there was a few that was come close to Menma's strength. So Sesame did not doubt one bit that Menma would win this. A match is always tricky, guys, said Sakura as he looked down. But yeah, Menma can't handle himself. You guys speak quite confidently of that boy down there, Menma as you said, and yet you don't know Ryu's abilities, or what he can really do. As Naruto looked across to see the girl from Kumo, she had took his warning when he sent his clone, and she decided not to pursue. As Naruto simply smiled, he said nothing, he just smiled. She narrowed her eyes towards his smile. It was kind of weird, but at the same time, it seems like he didn't know what he was doing. Weird, she thought to herself. He then spoke. She was surprised because she never thought that he would speak. Yeah, we just have a lot of confidence in him, said Naruto. She said nothing as she turned her head back towards the match. Alright, the both of you ready? As the both of them nodded, begin. Menma looked towards Ryu. Ryu wasn't as strong as Samoy or Yujito. He knew that. But he had another skill, and that was Kenjutsu. As he was a poof as he unsealed his blade. Kushina narrowed her eyes as she looked down. Menma knew Kenjutsu as well, after all. Both Menma and Naruto wanted to train in all arsenal, but yet he did not pull out a blade. He had his blade on him. She had made sure that he was equipped with everything before he left. A special made blade that she used, her chakra chains to made, that could rip through any one of these blades that any of these Genins had, but he was not using it. As Menma looked towards him, he then looked back up towards Naruto, who held out 5 fingers. As Menma smirked at that. As Menma shifted his foot, Ryu smirked. What was that, he asked. Well, he's testing me. About what? To see if I can take you down in 5 seconds. Ryu laughed. You guys are really cocky, aren't you? Oh, not cocky, said Menma. You see, when you know you can, you can. Ryu simply laughed. Well then, why don't I put you in your place, he says as he rushed forward. Menma watched him as Ryu was coming at him with decent speed. It was then that Tsunade flashed in as she landed beside Kushina and Minato. Am I late? No? Right on time, said Kushina. As Ryu swinged his blade as Menma ducked, Ryu tilted his body. But to his surprise, Menma was already in his guard. His eyes went wide. Boom! As Menma fist connected right into his stomach. Samoy and Yujito eyes went wide. As all the air was knocked out of Ryu, he wheezed as he was thrown thrown through the air like a missile as he slammed into the wall. He crumbled as he dropped face first, cold, completely out cold. The arena was shocked silent. How was that? 3 seconds. Good, said Naruto. As Hayate snapped back into focus. Winner. Menma Senju, he said. No, that's what I'm talking about, Snatty screamed as everyone looked towards her as she cheered Menma on. A big smile as Kushina jumped in. Menma got a bit embarrassed, but he still made his way with a smile on his face, a calm, collected smile. As the medics came and took Ryu away. He's strong, said Samui. Yes. As she turned her eyes towards Naruto, she understood now why he had confidence in him so much. The Raikage would be disappointed if he found about this. Incredibly so. And it wouldn't be good for Ryu. With all the boasting to be just taken out by one hit. Names then popped up again. It was Samui versus Sakura. Sakura smiled to herself. Do your best, said Sesame as Sakura nodded. She made her way down. As she stepped in the arena, you know what to do. As Samui nodded to Yujito as she made her way. The both of them entered the field. As the both of them narrowed their eyes. Are the both of you ready? As they nodded. Sakura shifted her stance. As she took a breath, Snatty smiled seeing Sakura down there. The girl was learning fast. She might not be as strong as Menma or Naruto, but she was learning fast, and she was becoming a good kunoichi, something that Snatty could respect. And from what that last Kumo Ninja showed, they were rather pathetic. Well, one hit and he was down, while Menma was strong. But this one, she was different. Snatty could tell that. As the match began, Sakura wasn't as fast as Samui, but her fists surely leave an impact, devastating craters, as Sakura was trying to hit the girl, but the speed of Samui was keeping her at bay. Samui was not playing around, as Sakura got several nasty slices. The girl was coating her blade with wind, as she then moved on to electricity, stunning Sakura's body. Sakura managed to get one hit in though, as Samui felt her shoulder. It was dislocated by the punch. This girl was rather dangerous to get into close, so instead she stayed long range. Sakura didn't know much ninjutsu, so once Samui started using ninjutsu, it was over, and the match was won by Samui. At least Sakura did her best. Nelly was proud of her. At first, the girl didn't even know how to throw a proper punch. Snelly was happy about her progress coming so far in just a couple of months. She didn't have the stamina. She didn't have the power like Naruto and Menma. She was a civilian, so her growth was impressive. As Samui made her way back up, after her shoulder was fixed, Yujito narrowed her eyes towards her. She was stronger than expected. Yes, I could see that, said Yujito. These Konoha ninjas were proving to be more than she expected as well. The next match was Akisaki versus Choji. Beat him into a pulp, said Kurosaki, as Akisaki made his way down with a smile. The match started as Choji wasted no time as he came towards Akisaki in a rolling form. But Akisaki caught him. His hands were layered with chakra, so defined that made Snatty narrow her eyes. This boy, he doesn't look like a genin at all. As he grabbed Choji and threw him, slamming him into the wall. And Choji was pummeled, as Akisaki pummeled him until he reverted back to his normal form. And the proctor had to jump in and stop the match, as Akisaki was given the victory. Tenten then faced off against Temari, and Temari won. A lot of displays of shrapnels, but Temari simply blew them all away. Ino then faced off against Kankuro, and Kankuro won. Sasuke then faced off against Yori, a member on Kabuto's team. It wasn't even a match, as Yori was no match for Sasuke. Despite he looking like he was a grown man, he was taking it rather easy. The next match was Gaara versus Kabuto, as Kabuto made his way down there with a smile. Both of you ready? As they nodded. Begin. The match started out rather quickly as Gaara flared his side towards Kabuto, who jumped back. Kabuto did nothing, he just narrowed his eyes. Before he wins, Proctor had forfeit, he said. As Hayate looked towards him, Seems I did not fully recover from my injuries in forest. I don't feel so well, said Kabuto. Alright then, winner. Sankim rushed forward to grab Kabuto as Hayate stopped in front of it. The match is over, he said, but Gaara did not listen. He had this crazy psychopathic look on his face. Gaara, stop! The voice of Ibiki broke through to him. As Ibiki noticed the Hokage was looking sternly, and that wouldn't be good at all. For him to mock the exam by doing something stupid. Gaara mumbled something before he simply made his way upstairs. As the match was put to an end with Gaara declaring the winner, luckily he stopped before he did something rather stupid. Neji then faced off against Shino, and Shino just didn't cut it when Neji got in close, as Neji took Shino down rather easily. The next match was Hibachi versus Sesame. As Sesame smiled, she can do this, as she clenched her fist. She felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Naruto giving her a smile. She looked at him happily. You can do this, he said. As she gave him a nod in thanks, as she made her way down. She was so grateful that she managed to find him at the cemetery that day, because if not, they wouldn't have become back friends and start to visit each other and talk more. She was glad that he was starting to open up back to her. Things were returning as they were in the past. As Sasuke wished her luck, she made her way downstairs after hearing it again from Yamato. As Hibachi went down there, Kurosaki gave him a glare and told him not to lose. After all, Akisaki did, and she was going to win her match. She was confident of that. So with that, she went down there. Akisaki could control bees. He wasn't much of a fighter, but he knew a few earth style techniques which he used. And let's just say Sesame didn't have to turn on her Sharingan. After all, the girl was a prodigy. Much would compare her to her bigger brother Itachi. Even her father said that out plainly. That made Sasuke kind of mad sometimes. But he was training and getting stronger to become better, just like her. But Sesame was far more advanced. But she took things a bit overboard when she didn't decide to put in much effort when she saw that Hibachi wasn't really that strong. Until he released the beast. A whole swarm of them that came in. Her legs were grabbed by arms from the ground that was made of earth. As a long spike came out of the earth as Hibachi had his hand down. The spike was about to pierce her as she pulled her head back as it passed her face. She pulled the kunai and threw it in the air before throwing 3 more. As she then threw another, the kunais ricocheted off each other as the last one was shot right towards Hibachi, who was focused on his beast, getting obliterated by the last second explosive that was on the other kunai that she threw. Hibachi's eyes went wide as he jumped away from the earth, making the rock platform settle back down to the earth. He seemed to be quite in tune with earth style, able to push his hands in the ground and mold its chakra so he could mold the earth itself. The moment he realized himself a kunai pressed against his throat, give up. He raised his hands in surrender, seeing no way that he could win this now. Not to mention a lot of his bees were destroyed in that attack. Something that he really hated. As he looked up, he saw a glare directed towards him from Kurosaki, who was quite angry. He just hung his head in shame. The next match was Kiba versus Yujito. As Yujito made her way down there, Hayate told him to begin. Yujito did not waste any time. Kiba was about to say something to taunt her a bit. But the girl disappeared in a burst of speed that shot most of them. Kiba turned as he was knocked up in the air. She appeared above him and dropped a dropping kick right into his stomach. Boom! He slammed it into the ground. Akamaru was smart to jump out of his jacket at the last moment, as he rushed towards his partner and started to bark and lick his face, but Kiba was out cold. Yujito didn't waste any time as she made her way back up. They weren't the only ones that could end match in seconds. As Naruto looked towards her, "You're quite strong," he said. "You haven't seen anything yet," she said. "Intriguing. I like it," said Naruto. As Sesame narrowed her eyes. As Naruto turned his eyes back down there, wondering when it was going to be his turn, Kurosaki's name was then called, and Hinata. As Kurosaki looked towards Hibachi, "Let me show you what a real Stone Ninja can do," she said. Hinata wasn't as shy as she was in the beginning of everything. Not to mention Neji. Her cousin has also helped her as Ninja Father was said to be a sacrifice for what happened between the Hyugas and Kumo, but Minato had forbade it. Nothing that was gonna happen because his son was there, and they almost got killed by the attack. Not to mention, Kumo was one started this, even though the Raikage has been rather silent about it. So Minato was surprised that he would send his Genins here. Well, he knew that it was a test, but he was just at least glad that this didn't cause any war. As the match was set to begin, Hinata came in close as she struck Kurosaki several times, but the girl simply laughed, as she then jumped back, as there was a crack. Her literal clothing cracked off of her, showing her fresh clothing underneath. The girl was wearing a strong layer of stone over her body, a special kind of stone. She cracked her neck as she slammed her hands in the ground. The ground merged on her arms and gave her a giant stone fist as she shot forward. The battle ensued. Hinata was swift on her feet and fast, but Kurosaki had a monstrous strength. Not to mention her speed was ridiculous as she did not let Hinata get close. She knew the Hyugas in a special style. That is when she did her technique, a strange white substance that Naruto noticed. It was lime. She spewed out of her mouth as she used fire to harden it. As he watched with a vivid eye, as Hinata was done for, as she won the match, she went back up with a smug look on her face. Disrespecting these Konoha ninjas is what she lived for after all, as Shikamaru was the last and final match that went on, where he faced off against Kabuto's other teammates, which he won with a smart tactic, as there was only 2 of them remaining in the end. As Naruto looked across, he knew who Lee was. The guy clone everyone talked about. Kakashi had told him, a kid that was able to use purely taijutsu to get through to the graduation test. His skills in taijutsu was so great, but he failed in all the other subjects. Naruto watches the 2 of them share a strange, intimate hug. As Lee was crying tears of joy, so was Guy, as Lee flipped off the balcony. "You can do this, Naruto-kun," Kushina shouted. "Yeah, show him what you're made of, Cincinnati." As Menma gave him a thumbs up, already swimming in embarrassment, but Naruto simply smiled as he looked up towards them, as Minato gave Naruto a nod. As Naruto looked forward, as Lee landed in the arena. "Are the both of you ready?" asked Hayate. "Yes." As Lee bowed his head, "I really wanted us to be paired up against each other," he said. "I heard about your exploits and your strength. I would like to test that." "You're the one that has no ninjutsu powers, is that right?" "Yes," Lee said. "Well then," said Naruto, "how about we make this a taijutsu match?" Lee looked confused. For someone to be putting himself at a disadvantage, "I wouldn't think that would be wise for you," Lee said. "To put yourself at a disadvantage. I want to see how powerful you are. Well, I want to see that in you as well. And using taijutsu is good for me," said Naruto. "After all, taijutsu is the best, isn't it?" "Yes," Lee said. "Well then, the flames of youth seem to burn brightly in you. Shall we commence our match?" "Thought you never asked," said Naruto, as he clipped off his cloak and put it to the side, as he was wearing his armor underneath. It looked so slick, most would confuse it for just a shirt. As Lee saw strange markings over it, some of them that seemed to just fade into it. As Naruto shifted his foot, Lee did so as well. "You're not gonna do the same thing to him?" asked Asami as she looked over at Menma. "The 5-second thing? Nah. This guy is different from my opponent. He's actually strong." As the Uchido narrowed their eyes over along with Sesame, but they didn't say anything. "I heard about him as well." As Menma looked forward as he saw Might Guy literally crying tears of joy to see the match begin. And they did. Lee shot forward, his speed already immense, as he vanished before he could reach Naruto as he appeared. He did a swinging kick towards Naruto's head, who simply ducked. Lee brought his leg down, but it was grabbed. He was startled that his leg was grabbed so easily, before he felt his pressure loosen. Blam! As Lee off. Surprised by the momentum of his speed that he was just brought down in the ground with. The ground cratered under his back, but he lashed out with his right foot that was not being whole, As Naruto twists his head and grab Lee right foot under his arm, Lee left foot under his other arm and lift Lee up. Lee thought that Naruto was a fool to put him in this position as he brought both fists down towards Naruto's face. Attack that he could not block or counter. But yet, Naruto did something unthinkable. He pushed himself off the ground and turned Lee with him, and body slammed Lee right into the ground. Lee winced in pain as Naruto got off him, as Lee jumped back to his feet. I'm surprised. I never knew that you were that in-depth in taijutsu. Well, I did study the strong fist style. Lee's eyes went wide. You did? Yes, Naruto said. I'm assuming that's what your sensei taught you as well, said Naruto. It's quite efficient, said Naruto as he motioned for Lee to come. Lee's smile got wider than before. Well then, this would be a splendid match. As he shot forward and did a spinning kick, as Naruto backed it down. Lee twisted and lashed with his backhand before turning into a punch towards Naruto's stomach, who pulled back his stomach and grabbed Lee's arm. Flipping over Lee, Naruto tossed Lee into the wall. Lee twisted and landed feet first as he shot forward. As Naruto jumped over him at the last moment, the both of them were in mid-air. Naruto's head was down towards Lee's feet and Lee's head was down towards Naruto's feet. It would be the first one to turn. Blam! The both of their legs connected each other's face. As Lee felt the strain, as Naruto grabbed onto his leg and twisted him and bashed him into the ground. Before picking him back up, Lee received several deadly punches to his stomach. As he coughed up blood by the last one, a powerful roundhouse kick threw him as he smashed into the wall. Tsunade was shocked, as recently she hadn't been able to test Naruto's strength to how he was coming. But she could see he was holding back and yet he was able to do this much damage while holding back. As Kushina looked kinda worried, Minato placed a hand on her shoulder. Lee is stronger than he looked, trust me. Naruto is not going overboard. You're gonna see why very soon. As Lee looked up, Guy raised a fist. Do it, Lee! Lee jumped up towards the podium as he removed his weights before throwing them. Naruto watched as the weights hit the ground with a boom, shocking everyone. What the hell, said Sesame? Wait, Guy said. My Lee has been wearing them the entire time. Now you will see what he can really do. As Lee dropped down before blurring out of sight. As Naruto blinked as he looked down, a fist smashed into his chin. As Naruto was picked off his feet. As Lee twists and drive a brutal kick towards Naruto's chest. As Naruto was seen as he smashed into the wall, breaking into it. As he lied here, Hayate jumped down. Well, he thought the match would go another way, but it went the other way. As Naruto did not move for about a couple seconds, making Hayate felt that he was out cold. Lee stood there. He should have warned Naruto that he was coming a lot faster than this. But the match was a good one. Lee was about to bow, as Naruto picked himself out of the wall. As he rubbed his chin, he spat to the side, as there was a bit of blood mixed with saliva. I must say, I wasn't expecting that boost, said Naruto. You're strong, you're fast. Not as Menma, but you're fast and strong, said Naruto. How about we kick this up a notch? As everyone was shocked, he just shrugged those hits off like it was nothing. He literally broke through a wall. Yuji don't narrowed her eyes. How strong was he? Kurosaki did the same. This guy, he was different. There was something about him. Those eyes, looking cold, despite strange. The way he moved, the way he talked, he seemed to be calm at all time. Like he was afraid of going angry, like he would let something loose. It was like a beast captured. But she saw as a smile graced his face. For once, his smile was not fake. Kushina saw it as well, something that frightened her, because he was smiling towards the possibility of fighting. And she didn't want him to think that the only thing that would give him enjoyment was fighting. She didn't want that to be his mindset. Lee wasted no time as he moved forward. Bam! Lee's fist connected into Naruto's palm. Lee's eyes were wide, and Naruto catching his fist. As his hand was twisted, Lee was picked off the ground. He flashed away. The moment he did, Naruto appeared behind him. at speed that shocked Lee. As Lee flashed away once again, her feet crashed into its face. Before he was sent sailing, his leg was grabbed. Lee felt Naruto twist him up in mid-air before Naruto used one leg and kicked Lee straight up into the ceiling. Lee smashed right into it. Caught completely off guard, he felt something on his back. That was when Naruto stomped into Lee's back with so much force, Lee cried out in pain. The momentum sent Lee crashing as he smashed into the ground. As Naruto flipped and landed, it's been a long time since he actually put in effort while fighting someone of the same rank as him. The only person he put in effort was Menma. Well, in his age group. The others, he didn't have to put in so much effort like Sasuke, well, or Sasami, but their matches weren't really brutal as this one. This guy was strong, and it made Naruto felt alive. His blood was pumping, his heart was beating, and he loved it. Lee picked himself up as Naruto grabbed his leg as Lee flashed behind him. Bam! Naruto turned as several fists connecting to Lee's face. Lee grabbed Naruto's arm though as he delivered a brutal kick that snapped Naruto's head to the side. Lee followed up by a brutal kick as he slammed it into Naruto's chin, lifting Naruto off the ground. He flashed behind Naruto's bandages. He released them as he wrapped them around Naruto, as he grabbed onto Naruto and spit in the air. Primary loaded, he said as he came down, as Lee drive Naruto into the earth. Boom! As the arena cracked. Hayate stood there completely shocked as he had to move away. Were these kids really Jennies? That must have done it. The match must be over right now. It had to. Kushina placed a hand at her mouth. Seeing her baby got dropped down like that, she started to panic. But Minato saw it. Minato's eyes were faster than most, and so did Guy. They saw what happened when the smoke clearly was down into the ground. As Lee coughed up blood. As Naruto looked down towards him, Lee jumped away. As he dropped to one knee, Lee was shocked. How? A few seconds earlier, as Lee started to wrap up Naruto, Naruto's hand shot out before Lee could fully wrap him and grab Lee by his shirt. As Naruto twists Lee's arms behind him, as it looked like Lee was the one holding him, but no, Naruto was the one holding him. So Lee was the one that got connected down by his back. Lee realized that he could not win Naruto this way. I'm sorry, Guy Sensei, but I have to, he said. Kushina wondered how that boy was still standing after receiving that. Lee seemed like a nice kid, as she just wanted this match to stop. After all, the both of them had done so much damage to each other already. But she then saw Lee cross his arms, as Naruto raised an eyebrow. Guy, you didn't, said Kakashi, as Guy's face was stern, as most of the Jonins looked towards him. First gate. Open, Lee said, as Naruto felt the surge. As the main man narrowed the eye. Well, that's new. Second gate. As Lee started to break them open straight up to the fifth. As his skin literally changed, his muscles bulging. As Lee moved, and Naruto was across the room in a second, his body imprinting in the wall. As Kurosaki was shocked. What the hell? As she narrowed her eyes. Did she blink or something? Yuchito's eyes were more trained as she saw it. He was fast. As she wondered if this boy surpassed her normal speed while in her normal state. Interesting thought, kitten. Well, you'll have to see, depending on which one of them win this match. Well, it doesn't look so good for the redhead over there. After all, this guy, Lee, he's gone into another state. Well, which one of them would you like to fight? I still need information on Naruto over there, so I'd rather fight him. Besides, he hasn't showed a single, not even a single, one of his abilities with those eyes. I don't even know if he can use them. Well, he must, but still, if he was fighting someone else, I would have gotten a lot of information already. As she said that, Naruto was tossed up in the air. As Lee was in front of him, his face was bulging. As Lee saw Naruto's hand move, as Naruto released a single hand sign, and Lee swung his fist towards Naruto. Guy was sure that he was done for until Naruto caught the fist. The air pressure blew, slamming into everyone. As Naruto's hand was bulging. As Menma knew what Naruto did, Lee was shocked as he tried to move, but Naruto grabbed his other hand. And the both of them pulled their head back. Blam! Their heads slammed together. The shockwave resonated through the area. Once again, Hayate had to move as he crash landed. The both of them were like blurs around the arena. As Hayate felt the impact, he heard something crack. A cry of pain later and a brutal kick. Lee was in the wall. His body arched inside, but he burst out. The cloak around him, his gate flickering. As his body was contrasting too much, his steam was running out. As he dived towards another punch, his other arm was limp. As Naruto grabbed it, he pushed his hand into Lee's stomach. As he seemed to cancel out the strength from his other arm going up. As Lee was picked up, as Naruto turned him before jumping himself. As Naruto's hand was still on Lee's stomach, his 5 fingers spread wide. As guys saw that technique before. As Naruto then pressed Lee down. The force was instantaneous as the ground exploded. Blood exploded from Lee's lip. As the ground debris shot everywhere, forcing the Jonin senses to move forward and block the giant debris that was sent away. Kushina chains came out and blocked the giant ones. When the smoke cleared away, the arena was sunken. Lee lay in the center of the crater. As Naruto's hand, his palm was burned. To the technique that he just did, it was purely taijutsu, but he used chakra into the mix. The 5-finger slam. Guy was surprised that kid his age was able to master something like that. To bring all chakra focus points onto the center of the palm, release it now in large quantity. Even though the attack didn't seem strong, the force that came behind it was released instantaneously as it drove Lee into the ground. Naruto stood there as he looked towards his armor and his arms. He had a few scratches here and there, but nothing that would cause him to go in the hospital or even be short of breath. As everyone was shocked, was Naruto that much stronger than Lee? For him to be still standing while Lee was in that miserable state. As Menma saw the seal was no longer there. As Naruto had to release one of his weighted seals. When Lee had stepped up in the gates, Naruto had to release one of them. Or Lee would have knocked him down too much, forcing him to actually use his ninjutsu, which he didn't want to. As a sign of respect, as Naruto turned his back, Lee got back up to his feet. Even Naruto was shocked, but the shock was replaced by raw anger. After that, for someone to get up, Naruto felt humiliated that he had to put in more effort. That is why he was about to give Lee what he desired as he turned. But Naruto paused when he saw that Lee was unconscious. As Naruto stepped forward, not with the intent to fight. As he placed a hand on Lee's shoulder, as Lee fell, as he caught him, the medics rushed in as Naruto placed Lee on the stretcher. As Hayate came down towards the destroyed arena, "Winner, Naruto Senju," he said. As Naruto stood where he wasn't moving. His shoulders were shaking like he was laughing, but he was not. As Kushina jumped down, "Naruto-kun, are you okay?" she asked. She wasn't sure what was going on, but he was just standing there. "The test was over. What's wrong?" She lifted his face up by his chin, and his face was blank, despite his shoulders shaking. As Naruto looked down towards his hand, he didn't know what the hell was going on. At that last moment when Lee got back up, he knew he should have stopped, felt remorse or something, but he wanted to kill him for humiliating like that. He didn't feel the emotion, but yet he wanted to kill him. And he was gonna take his head off with his next attack. What was wrong with him? This was not supposed to go that far, but yet his intent was there to kill Lee. Lee did a good fight. He shouldn't die for something like that, but yet he was gonna do it. If Lee was unconscious, he was gonna die. As Naruto didn't know what the hell was wrong, He didn't feel anything. He didn't feel the remorse to stop himself. And he hated that because he knew that was wrong. Enemies, it was okay, but Lee was a Konoha ninja. He shouldn't be killing the Genins of Konoha. No. So why? And now, he couldn't even release that anguish because he could not cry. There was nothing coming. It seems like he forgot how to do it. Just what the hell was wrong with him? As his shoulders stopped shaking as he looked up, he smiled. "Oh, I'm alright," he said. "Just got dizzy there for a moment," he said. "Oh, okay," she said, as she took his hand, as she led him away. As the man narrowed his eyes, he was lying. Something was wrong right there. Something happened that he did not tell her, but Minma wasn't sure what it was. All of them were called down to hear who they were going to be fighting in 1 month time. Well, at least Kurosaki and Yujito had a lot to report on his physical strength alone. They haven't seen anything yet, and not to mention they could confirm to their leaders that yes, indeed, Naruto does possess the Nature Eye. Oniki was gonna flip when he hears about this. Meanwhile, as Orochimaru was smiling, the Sand refused. Raza refused to join him to take down Minato because the man was afraid, even though he wouldn't say he was afraid. The entire world was at calm, at ease, because they were afraid of Minato. Oniki, the Raikage, yes, they were afraid. But Orochimaru was going to take matters in his own hands. There was someone beside him, was his faithful servant, Kimimaro. On the ground was Raza, bones protruding through his chest. Orochimaru and Kimimaro taking him out, not to mention his bodyguards. It was time that the Sand go to war with Konoha by force. After all, their Kazekage will make sure it happened, as he licked his lips in anticipation. But guys, if you end episode right here, if you want something Spartan to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on the bell notifications to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in social media platform. And also guys, stay tuned for the rest of what is coming your way, but I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace.